Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to Ventspils Nafta and Latvijas kuģniecība webinar. Today we are hosted by the Finance Director of Ventspils Nafta, Kaspars Bunne, Advisor to the Chairman of the Management Board of Latvijas kuģniecība, Ģirts Apsītis, and Finance Director of Latvijas kuģniecība, Spūle. During the webinar, companies' representatives will inform about Ventspils Nafta and Latvijas kuģniecība latest activities and analyze the financial results of the first half of the year 2015. Before the presentation begins, a quick reminder for those who have joined us for the first time. Right after the presentation, we will open the floor for questions and answers session. Please use the chat box on your right side of the screen to send in questions. We have also received questions via Investors Portal Naudas lietas that will be given preference. We will address the rest of the questions afterwards. Mr. Bunne, I invite you to proceed with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Lasma. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure that you are more familiar with Robert and Paul as the usual hosts. Don't panic, they are well and abroad. So myself, Santa and Ģirts will replace them this time. Today I'm going to speak on the following: a short introduction on VN Group and its corporate structure, an overview of business segments, then key financial performance of VN for first half of year, about goals achieved this year, plans for the second half of year, and outlook for the next year. And then Santa and Ģirts will continue in more detail about performance of Latvian shipping company. So, corporate structure. I believe you are already familiar with this slide, as it has been several times before. Compared to the, okay, in just a few words, that Ventspils Nafta, the biggest shareholders are Euromin Holding Limited, which is a Vitol Group company, and Latvijas Naftas Tranzīts. And Ventspils Nafta has three subsidiaries: Ventspils Nafta Terminals, located in Ventspils, Latvian Shipping Company, and Waterstones. Compared to the end of year, there were minor changes. The ownership of Fondo AG Estonia in Latvian Shipping Company has risen to 15.43%. One more important thing which took place this year was share capital reduction in Waterstones by 66 million euros. This share capital reduction was done proportionally between the current shareholders, and we still keep this 66%. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. Overview of VN Group. Here again, nothing has changed significantly compared to the previous years. Two companies, Waterstones and Ventspils Nafta Terminals, are engaged in transit business segment. Each of them employs more than 200 employees. In more detail about each company, then Ventspils Nafta Terminals is the largest terminal on the East Baltic coast and provides transshipment of the petroleum products. One important thing is that it provides 45% of all liquid cargo turnover in Latvia. In turn, Waterstones provides transportation via diesel via main pipeline in the territory of Latvia from the Belarusian border to Ventspils, and they transship also diesel fuel. In other words, in Latvia, the contribution of logistics sector to GDP is around 12%. So that makes sure that this segment is a major part of Latvian economy, and both companies play a significant role in it. The third company was or is Latvian Shipping Company. It's one of the leading companies in this handy-size and medium-range tanker segment. Then this slide about Waterstones pipeline network was added for better standing of their business. As you are aware, the flow in two crude oil pipelines in the direction to Mažeikiai, Lithuania and Ventspils has been stopped for several years. The technological crude oil was pumped out and sold. I think that, as it was previously announced, that the last sale of this crude oil occurred in the first quarter of this year. At this moment, the conservation works of these crude oil pipelines are in progress. Oil product pipeline in black color is still operating. In 2014, the company transshipped via this pipeline around 5.7 million metric tons of diesel fuel. In first half of 2015, the transshipment volume reached around 3 million metric tons. And about the second half of year, we are cautious about prediction related to these volumes. Then this slide also has been shown several times before, and it demonstrates a range of transportation and storage services provided by Ventspils Nafta terminals. As we can see that they can receive products by railway tracks, product pipeline, vessels, so they can store them in 105 shore tanks and then load on ships and deliver worldwide. The total capacity of terminal is 1.2 cubic meters. In order to imagine the size of it, I would like to say that $500 million is the approximate value of the product if all tanks are full, and 2.2 thousand kilometers length of one train if all products are delivered at once. And now let's move to the slide about key financial performance. So market conditions still remain challenging. Volumes of transshipped and reloaded products has slightly declined in comparison with the same period last year. On the other hand, the results were better than we expected, than we budgeted, and that of course was good. If you look in the first bar chart, consolidated revenue of Ventspils Nafta has increased and achieved 95.6 million euros for the first half of the year. Actually, the major reason for that was forex effect of shipping business. As you all know, shipping business, so they are doing their business in United States dollars, and despite a slight fall in their turnover, which was minus 4%, their revenue reported in euros increased because of strength of dollar. Then obviously, as transshipped volumes reduced, revenue of Waterstones also declined by 10.5%, but revenue of terminals increased by 3%, which actually was because of some additional services provided to clients. Analyzing EBITDA margins, over the last years, VN Group has demonstrated a stable EBITDA at the level of 30%, EBITDA margin at the level of 30%. In the first half year of 2015, net profit of the whole group, consolidated profit, achieved 21 million euros. If we look at the results separately by each company, Ventspils Nafta Terminals profit was something about 7 million, Waterstones profit was 6 million, 6.5, and shipping business profit was $8.8 million or 8.6 million in euros. Okay, then about goals for 2015 which were achieved. Ventspils Nafta Group continued to review corporate structure and its cost base. This process was commenced in 2014. What happened in these 6 months? So, as I mentioned, sale of remaining crude oil was completed. Then several loans were received back from related party. And as these loans were denominated in United States dollars, actually for the first half of year, it significantly affected the results because of foreign currency exchange fluctuations. Then share capital of Waterstones was reduced, and now it's 27.5 million. It's not anymore the biggest company in Latvia with the largest Russian equity or part of equity. Then sale of non-core business and assets. In the first quarter, Ventspils Nafta terminals and Latvian shipping companies sold their shares in football club Ventspils. Then management reached settlements in various long-term litigations. And what happened quite recently was that the Latvian shipping group restored control over Lusco investments and its investment portfolio, real estate properties. And inside of shipping business as well, technical management now is provided for 4 tankers which belong to third parties. So last year only 2 tankers, so new 2 tankers under the management of shipping group this year. About plans for the next 6 months, first of all, what's important is to restore solvency of Lusco investment, and I think that in more details will be explained by Ģirts. Then revaluation of group's long-term assets in line with market conditions, so that may affect the fleet and the oil product infrastructure based on the actual results and forecasts for next year. And of course, it's really important is extension of all major agreements for the next year on transshipment and reloading. Outlook for 2016. Market environment is still challenging for us, and that's why we actually expect that transshipment volumes will decline. And of course, the effect of that is because of geo-economic situation. On the other hand, all group companies are active to review its business opportunities. Ventspils Nafta terminals, so they started this year inland shipment by tracks, and as well inland shipment by rail tank cars. So that's a new opportunity. Then Vitol Baltics, which was established by Vitol Group in the end of last year here in Latvia, also they are seeking for new business opportunities. And so Waterstones, so they, as I mentioned before, so they are doing this conservation work of the pipeline, but it doesn't mean that the pipeline can't be used in the future, or their technical resources. And of course, Lusco investment, which again, maybe most important thing is just to ensure positive cash flow. But okay, as I mentioned, Ģirts will talk in more detail. And now I will give a word to my colleague Santa, so she will tell you about Latvian Shipping Company.
Thank you, Kaspar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And that was a useful introduction to the latest developments on the whole VN group. And on my turn, I'm happy to update you on the performance of the Latvian Shipping Company Group segment. Today, I will present the group's financial ratios for the first half of 2015, explain briefly the reasons behind it, and compare those figures to the same period last year. I'm pleased to inform you that Latvian Shipping Company and its subsidiaries reported a net profit of almost $9 million for the first 6 months of 2015, and as compared to $8 million loss incurred in the respective period last year. And I have to remind you that LSC Group's primary reporting and operating currency is dollars, because Kaspars was talking in euros before. Our group's revenue are slightly decreased, and it's due to the fewer vessels employed within the fleet and off-hire days as well, which related mainly to the dry dock repairs within 6 months. 5 vessels were repaired in this year already. Despite the said drop in revenues, our EBITDA, that's earning before interest, tax and depreciation, grew by $5 million as compared to the first half of 2014. It has been achieved mainly due to materially lower voyage costs and overheads. Stronger EBITDA, as mentioned previously, in combination with the lower interest expenses within 6 months this year, and also material gains in approximately about $1 million from foreign exchange rate fluctuations, resulted in a considerably higher profit before exceptionals, which exceeded their respective result in 2014 by $7 million. Accordingly, the main component of the LSC Group's exceptionals is fleet impairment. As it can be seen in the chart, the fleet impairment in first half was considerably lower than in respective period last year, as actual vessel sales evidenced by independent shipbrokers supported maintaining the fleet value at its current levels. As to further impairments, it's hard to predict whether any will be made in the future, as it will be very much influenced by how the worldwide economic environment develops in the next 12 months. Since beginning of this year, the LSC Group has managed to build almost $5 million in cash, while the net cash increase in the same period of last year amounted to $2 million. The group's generated cash is sufficient to cover its running and administrative costs, as well as to fulfill its obligations toward the fleet financing banking syndicate. And as to future prospects, I would like to emphasize that the worldwide economic and geopolitical climate will continue to have the major influence on the future direction of shipping in general and the performance of our group in particular. Now I will pass the microphone to my colleague Ģirts, for him to update you on the structure of LSC fleet, the shipping market data, and recent activities on gaining back control over Lusco investment group, as Kaspars mentioned before. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. First, I will mention a few words about our fleet and team. As you already heard, that we have 8 tankers. Nothing has changed during last 6 months, but we are proud that in technical management we have attracted 4 third-party vessels, and these vessels generate additional revenues for our group and illustrates the competence and actually professionality of our staff. Other thing which we are proud of is that our sea-going personnel, due to strong maritime traditions in Latvia, are approximately 90% Latvian origin. That's unique if we compare Latvian shipping to other shipping companies in the world. And we also have a shore-based staff with head office in Riga. A few words about shipping market trends. My colleagues already said some words about it, but as you see from our results, the first and second quarter has been better than anticipated. As you see, we have earned and reached even profit. And both spot and time charter market has performed better than anticipated. And this evidence is seen to support the view that the decrease in the prices of crude oil and as a consequence of refined products stimulated demand for refined oil. So the prices of oil is lower, and that caused the increase in oil products. What we already have seen in Q3 is that market is weaker, but historically last quarter of the year is always the best one, so we expect that this year will be the same. Regarding our chartering strategy, as we have already mentioned a lot of times, largest part, it's 14 out of our 16 vessels are employed on time charter contracts, and in this way we get regular cash flow from our tankers, and that's how we are protected against negative market fluctuations. And we have intention to continue this strategy also in the future. We do not plan in this year to make any changes in our commercial fleet, but we expect more vessels in technical management from third parties. Good news for our group is that recently we have regained full control over subsidiary Lusco investment, which is our company which is holding and managing the real estate properties. And maybe as you are aware that many properties what are in our portfolio is precious nams, for example, hotel Liabilities, microparanums, and also some smaller properties. As we are not the property experts and we are not the property company, our midterm aim is to dispose these assets, so we can focus on our core business, which is shipping. And I would like to use this opportunity and encourage students of maritime profile to apply for scholarships, which we, in cooperation with VTOL's funds, are organizing this year first time. So please visit our website and apply for scholarships. It's absolutely free. You will get scholarship for whole year. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Now I will proceed with the questions in the order they were received. But before, I would like to remind you that you can send in questions in the section on the right side of your screen. We have received one question in investors portal Naudas lietas. Latvian shipping company insider OU Fondo H Estonia keeps buying back Latvian shipping company shares. Is it possible to elaborate on relation between Fondo H Estonia and Latvian shipping company?
First thing which I can say, we cannot comment of activities of our shareholders. We are even not allowed to comment. But we know that board member of Fondo H is our supervisory council member Giovanni Fragioli. That's the only connection we know, and that's the only thing we can comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ģirts. As I see, there are no more questions currently, but maybe we can wait for a couple of moments. Maybe somebody is typing in. So we will wait for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, you can type them in on the right side of your screen in the questions box. We have received one more question. What are the midterm plans for cash distribution for Latvian shipping company? If any of guests could answer on this or elaborate.
Yes, our cash position is improving. That's a good news. But maybe not so good news for investors is that first we have to repay all the loans to the banks. As you know, we have a bank syndicate, which has two bank syndicates, which has financed our vessels. Then we have also loans from our parent company, Ventspils Nafta, and yes, we will use the cash we earn to repay the debts.
Thank you, Ģirts, for an answer. We have received one more question. How much liabilities does Lusco investment have?
Lusco Investment Group, as you already have heard on the news, are returned back to Latvian Shipping Company Group, previously owned and went out of our control since end of 2010. So at that time, and nothing has changed. The balance of the loans issued to Lusco Investment Group by Lusco, particularly by Latvian Shipping Company Group, is about 80 million. And so previously, if you follow the financial statements published earlier, it's almost impaired until the level of the real estates owned by those companies, which are pledged on behalf of Latvian Shipping Company. The rest of the real estates are also pledged. So basically, the biggest liabilities are due to VEN Group and Latvian Shipping Company Group.
Thank you for an answer. We have one more question. Follow up. Do you mean that the shareholders will receive dividends only when all debts will be paid back?
Yeah, it's not precondition because it's normal that company have debts, and normally it's to have some ratio again between debt and equity. But we expect one of our credit facilities for vessels expiring next year, so we should seek whether for refinancing it or paying back fully. So it means that in next years, I'm afraid it will not be possible to propose to pay the dividends. But in any circumstances, this will be decision of shareholders meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ģirts, for an answer given. We will wait for a couple of minutes. Maybe somebody else has questions. I remind you that the recording of the webinar will be available on investors portal Naudas Lietas, as well as on YouTube channel Nasdaq Baltic in playlist webinars. There's one more question. Are there any litigations still going on? Any of guests could answer on that?
Well, let's say currently all the problem cases are solved, but of course there are some smaller things which are as everyday business. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ģirts. We will wait for a couple of moments, but we plan to finish our webinar soon. So if you have any more questions, we encourage you to write them on the question box on the right side of the screen. We have received a number of questions. Do you link the fail in the oil transshipments only to the geopolitical situation? And do you see the situation improving lately, or is it getting worse?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think that what we can see is that the actual flow of the products, and as I mentioned before, in the beginning of the year we were really careful on these volumes, and we expected that namely transshipment via the pipeline will not exceed 3 million metric tons. Good luck. We achieved this volume in the first 6 months, but again, I think the most important thing is that we can't maybe expect increase the flow in the medium-term period. So usually we are talking about only next year, 1 year agreement, and I think that maybe somehow doesn't allow us to be very optimistic about the future. So these are real facts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaspars, for an answer. The next question is, what are the Capex plans for Ventspils Nafta in the near future?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Each company has its own Capex plan. As I know that terminals and Waterstones, they have Capex plans for 5 years, but of course the current situation and this decline in the transshipment volumes and expectations for the future will do some corrections in these plans. But I think the most important is health, security, environment. So all these Capex plans should be done in according just to work in the safely environment and to fulfill all requirements set by the legislation and good practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaspars. And one more question. How Latvian shipping company plan to raise revenue?
Thank you for the question. As you are aware, the main source of income of Latvian shipping company is charter rates of the vessels. So it means if charter rates will go up, our income will increase, and that's what we should hope for. The second thing is what I mentioned. We are trying to attract in technical management more third-party vessels that will generate additional income. And third thing, which is a separate topic, is we hope to sell our property portfolio at good prices, we hope, but this money will mainly go to cover the debts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ģirts. By now, all questions are answered. I remind you that recorded the presentation will be available in the Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel webinar playlist and the investors portal naudaslietas.lv. Dear speakers, thank you for the presentation and for answers given. Participants, thank you for joining.